Have you ever asked the question, am I good enough? And more importantly, have you ever began a quest of trying to understand, how do I feel like I am enough? How do I feel like I have worth? How do I feel like I'm lovable for who I am and not just what I do? If you've wondered any of these things, I'd love to share with you what I've learned along my quest, because I used to ask myself those questions. Am I good enough? And I would feel what I felt, and the answer was no, I don't feel like I'm good enough. And I didn't know what to do with that. And then more importantly, I didn't know why it was there or how it got there. And to make it worse, I kept all of this to myself. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes to make. I kept it all to me, and then I started telling myself these stories about how I must be the only one feeling like this. To make it even worse, then I would go on social media and I would look at pictures and videos of other people that looked like they were having the most amazing life on the outside, probably feeling the same way as me on the inside, but I didn't know that back then. They had this amazing life, and I would contrast that and then go back to how I was feeling, and it made me feel even worse. So I'd love to share with you a couple of key things that have absolutely transformed my life in such an amazing way and have transformed all of my clients' lives and so many people here at our school. And it's understanding what is a tribal cycle. Now, there's so much to this, and I'm going to do my absolute best to squeeze as much as I can in this short video. A tribal cycle is a bunch of rules that exist within a family that are generally passed down from generation to generation to generation. No one in the family knows these rules are there. They're not done on purpose, but what they do is they generally squash self-esteem and don't in any way promote people to be healthy, unique, and functional. Generally, most people have levels of dysfunction in their family and they're just completely unaware of it. So I'll give you an example. I wonder if you heard this inside your family. You need to be seen but not heard. Or I wonder if you heard this one, boys don't cry. Or I wonder if you heard this one, don't speak unless you're spoken to. These would be just a handful of just common examples of messages that get passed down under the guise of normal parenting that generally don't really help people feel great about themselves. Now, there's a saying that we say in coaching, and this is really important. We're all doing the best that we can with the tools that we have. And most parents and most families don't know that these aren't the right things to be saying to their children. And so they're just doing what they've been taught, and they're doing the best that they can with the tools that they have, and they love their kids and they want the best for them, but they've just never been taught, well, how do we develop healthy self-esteem? You know, there's another thing that's a massive problem when it comes to tribal cycles, and it's benchmarking children against their academic ability instead of helping them actually feel great as people. I'll give you an example. I was working with a client of mine, and she was struggling with self-esteem issues, and she really was not feeling good enough, wanted more self-love. And we tracked this back to, there were a lot of moments where her family would say, well, you got 95% of this maths test, you got 95 out of 100, where was the other 5%? And that's such a common message that comes through the idea of, well, I want them to be the best and I want them to be successful. But all a child hears is, I'm not good enough. I'm just not enough. So how do we do this? And how do we change this? Now, first of all, this is really important. The cycle can be broken. And we've been working with thousands of people across the world that are coming out of their tribal cycle, and they're taking a stand and saying, enough is enough. I want to pass down more love. I want to pass down more self-esteem. I want to know that I am enough, and then I want to give that to the people around me. And that's how I started my quest, and it's just been the most amazing journey so far. So there are 3 things that we need to cover. It is learning how to express all of our emotions without shame and without guilt. And I could do a whole day's worth of how to actually do that. That's a big one. Learning that we have emotional needs. Most of us are never taught about this. We have emotional needs. For example, we all have the same need. We all need to feel like we belong. I wonder if you've ever been around people before where you have been in a room of people and you've been close to them, but you still feel alone. This is so common, and it's because most people have not been taught how to communicate on an emotional level, and they've just been taught how to communicate on a physical level, that would be another problem within a tribal cycle that needs to be broken. And the last one, so there's three, so there's emotions, needs, and the last one is to learn that it's okay to have boundaries. Most families don't know this and they don't know how to teach it. And again, I just really want to reiterate, it's nothing to do with the family. It doesn't mean anyone's a bad person. It doesn't mean anyone's a bad mother or a bad father at all. Far from the point. Everyone's doing the best they can with the tools that they have. But most people don't know how to teach it's okay to say no. One of the tribal rules that I grew up with is generally what was inferred was you always had to say yes, you always had to be pleasing, and if you said no to something, especially another family member, you kind of felt guilty about saying no. So generally what I learned is to be a really awesome people pleaser and always smile and put my needs to the side, and this was causing me to not feel good enough and to have low self-esteem. So now on the other side of learning how to have what's called healthy self-esteem, which is defined as having a feeling that we are lovable for who we are, that we are enough, which means we can handle challenges in life, and that we are worthy of success, it completely transforms our entire life. And it's just, the quest that I've been on has been absolutely phenomenal. And so if you resonate with absolutely any of this, I would love to invite you to go ahead and click the link below. You'll head over to another page where I'd love to share with you about a global telecast where I'm going to unpack these 3 steps. How to know that you're lovable, how to know that you're enough, how to know you've got self-esteem. And I trust it's going to be something that'll really rock your world. If you've resonated with any of this at all, you're here and you're watching this, and I'm sure you're watching this for a really wonderful reason. So go ahead, click the link below, and I'll see you on the other side.